Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. If you're on any of my lives, I always start the same way because I do think it is so very cool that no matter where we are or what time of day we are each individually in, we can all come together at the same time. So, welcome everyone for being here. Let us know where you are located or chiming in from, or chiming in because you're not actually chiming in, you're tuning in. So, if you're watching or listening, tell us where you're located. We'll kind of do a quick round the horn and where we are. I'm here in Houston, Texas. So, for me, it is 10 a.m. Central Time. I just had to look over at my clock, knowing that we always do these at 10 a.m. I don't know why I had to do that, but 10 a.m. Central Time here in Houston, Texas. Chad and Chella, where are you guys at?
Take it away, Chad.
So I'm out of Dallas, Fort Worth, just a little bit north of Denise. I'm a little bit further north than that right now, across the Red River and the Oklahoma border. But normally out of the Dallas, Fort Worth area, it's a little stormy here today, so I may cut out every now and then because I don't want you to have to listen to the thunder and lightning.
And I am tuning in from Orange County, California. My claim to fame, I am walking distance from Disneyland.
Woo!
Ooh, we love that. My kid, wow. Maybe I not so much as my kids, but my kids would love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, reminder, I will try to type it in the comments here in a few minutes. But let us know where each of you guys are tuning in from. We're so excited to have you here. As a reminder, we do these every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Chella's time, which is Pacific. And then, we can figure out, if you don't know what that time zone is for you, let us know and we can we can engage in the conversations in the comments below. That being said, though, this week is our live. We alternate weeks. One week is live, the following week is audio event. And really what we try to do in these lives is take the conversation that we have in the audio events and bring them to the stage here. So we love when you can join us in our audio events and join us on stage. Today, though, join us in the comments. What we're going to talk about, last week we talked about really just being curious, asking questions, and not just having a list of prospecting questions, like 20 questions that we all probably have, but actually leaning in and asking second and third and fourth line questions that are follow-on questions to each piece of conversation that you have with your prospect. And quite honestly, take sales out of the equation. It doesn't matter whether it's a prospect or just someone you're engaging with regularly. This should be a common practice that we should all adopt. So while we were talking about being curious last week, today we're going to talk about active listening.
It's really funny because, so many people, we ask questions because we're looking to qualify or we're looking to get information on how to, move the deal forward and how to close the person. And active listening really is all that about knowing what they really need and really digging deep into understanding the problems that your prospect has. And that's far more important than the number of questions you ask. The depth of questions and the depth of content is really more important. Wouldn't you agree with that, Chella?
Absolutely. And I'm along those lines is sometimes when you listen, I know it's happened to me, is they have the solution, right? As you're listening, right? They're running around in circles, but because you're listening, the solution they have, right? So sometimes it's happened where it's just a matter of giving them what if you shift this, right? So it's what if you weren't listening, you would have missed that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I think that it may just be one word that changes the entire context of the conversation. And if you aren't actively listening, which, by the way, actively listening isn't just listening, but it's listening with purpose, right? Listening to everything that they say. Because if you miss just maybe sometimes even just that one word, it changes the entire context of the conversation. And you walk away with misinformation or only part of the story, or without a true understanding overall in what they were trying to say to you.
Yeah, I like to call it, we've all heard the say it out loud test, right? If you say it out loud, all of a sudden it becomes real and you acknowledge it. And I think that that's huge because, if you can ask the right questions, a lot of times you'll get people to admit that problem they've been burying. They know it's there, but they just haven't admitted it. And once you get them to say it out loud and admit it, that's close themselves. That's where all of a sudden your solution is gold. You've brought the value. You elicited that information out of them. But you can't do that if you're asking to respond. You can only do that if you're asking to understand.
And the other thing that, as you were saying that, is sometimes if we're not active listening and we present a solution, the other person is not going to feel like we heard their challenge, their problem, right? We're presenting a solution, but if we're not really taking into consideration what they said to us, that's a mixed match, right? Because we're giving them a solution for a problem they told us they didn't have. And I think that we need to, that's where really, truly listen to what the problem, listen to what the challenge, because, right, before you present the solution.
Yeah, that's why I brought my buddy Tommy Boy here today, because if you're not actively listening, you're just setting your deal on fire.
I wondered what the heck that background was for.
Yeah.
This is not Chad's normal background. For those that are just joining us and have never been on our lives, that's not his normal background.
No. I decided to have a little fun today. It's like, active listening, more than anything else, more than your presentation, more than your information and your data and your specs and anything you can share, just listening and honestly acknowledging and resonating with that prospect is going to do way more than anything else you could say or do. Just giving them that ability to be heard and understood and felt. That's the best way to build that relationship, because we buy emotionally. We don't buy based on data and statistics and facts. We use those to justify it after the purchase. So active listening is really the key to not burning down your deal like my buddy Tommy Boy here.
Well, and two, I mean, it builds, I talk about this all the time in sales. It's not about know, like, and trust anymore. Simply, it's know, like, and trust with credibility.
Yes.
And, in the past, credibility, when we had, pre-pandemic, when our buyers were running from meeting to meeting, they were constantly on calls or physically in another room, and they didn't have time to spend researching the industry or the products that were there to solve their problems. So credibility was a little bit more about us educating our buyers. Well, now our buyers, they may still be going from meeting to meeting, but they're sitting in front of their laptop for the most part, and they have more time now to actually research. So by the time they engage with us, they've already down selected who their top choices are. And so credibility isn't about educating them anymore. Credibility is more about the relationship, about being your authentic self, and about not only being curious, but actively listening, because they're already in their minds determining whether or not they want to work with you. And someone who's not listening to them, they don't want to work with.
Yeah, you brought up such a great point. People are 75, 80% of the way through their buying journey before they ever talk to a salesperson. At that point in time, you are truly under the microscope, and the deal is yours to lose at that point in time versus win when you're in that situation. So if you're not paying attention, it's out the door really fast.
And also, I think with that, right, we all agree on this, is that it's about, we're presenting a solution to a problem they didn't tell us they have.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this so many times, and we're not going to go down this road of all those cold DMs that I've been getting recently, but you don't know what my problem is. How do you know? How can you present a solution when you haven't heard my side of the story?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the active listening. Is ask me questions. Even if it's on the DM, ask me questions, right? Get to know me first. So anyways,
yeah,
we are delighted.
Sorry. So look, there, I just interrupted you, but because now I had my own thought and I didn't probably hear the very last words that you said. But, the reality is this, that DMs are a bit warm. How we engage warmly is different than cold. Although that is a definite topic that we talked about and that we should continue to talk about, because the warm DMs, getting to know people before you have a conversation, is really, truly important. And that does build credibility. But when we're talking about having a meeting and talking about actively, actively listening and how we listen to when we're being curious, that's really truly what builds credibility with them, right? I mean, they don't want you to come in and pitch them. They don't want you to hear the subsurface responses. They're going to give you those, but they want you to really understand more about them and their problem, right? Not about us and what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think in my head, I knew what I was going to say. I have no idea if that really made any sense.
It actually did. It did. You know, and we're all providing solutions. You know, products and services are solutions to a problem. And by not understanding and listening to your customers and really knowing what their problem is, they don't feel like there's any personalization or customization. You're just an out of the box at that point in time. You become a widget. And you become commoditized. You're just a thing that they can buy anywhere. And, you know, you don't have any differentiation. And that listening and really customizing your conversation and your solution for that person, that's the difference. And that's where I think a lot of salespeople miss the mark. They think about, hey, I've got this kind of cookie cutter thing that works everywhere. Well, no, it doesn't. And why would you want to commoditize yourself like that? Listening makes that difference.
I just had a brilliant idea. And as you both were talking, you're not a big box store.
Right.
You're a boutique. Right? If you start thinking of yourself as that one-on-one, right? We don't want to sell, thousands and thousands of whatever that thing is that all these options that you get at the big box stores. You're a boutique, right? What is it? What is your skill set that can help that other person? And the only way you're going to find out, well, they already came into the store to begin with. So you know that they're interested. They set up that time to have a conversation. To me, is valuing their time. And the best thing we can do with that is listen. We're a boutique store, right? Whether it's, actual or not, but they already set up a time. How can we help them solve the whatever challenge or problem, keeping in mind we're a boutique? We don't have this, massive amount of products and services that we can offer. And it all begins with that intimate cup of coffee, real or not, by listening, because you're listening, like Denise said, what are the words that they're using, right? What's their pain? How are they expressing it? And how is that impacting their business and their life? We're not asking how is that impacted, but if you start thinking, okay, so that's the challenge. How is that impacting their business and their life? Active listening.
I like that because I will add to that by saying some of the ways that you can actively listen, right? And one way I do this a lot, and you'll see me doing this sometimes even on a live. I know Chella has noticed me doing this, but I am a huge note taker, right? So not everyone is a pen and paper kind of gal or guy like I am, right? That's okay. You don't have to be. I used to have joint meetings with a couple of my peers where we were trying to cross sell. And one of them would always come in with an iPad and they would type away on their iPad, or others would use a phone recorder, right? Whatever your methodology is for capturing notes, when you are in the meeting and you have an opportunity to actively listen, if you take notes, you are having to listen at that time, and you're physically having to do, whether it's typing or writing, you're physically having to put it down. And if you miss something while you're typing or writing, while you're notating, you can get them to stop for a minute, let them know that you're taking notes, and ask them to repeat what they just said, right? It then creates this opportunity, this space. How about not opportunity, but this space then for you to truly be present while they're talking, right? That's one tip that I would recommend. Find a way to take some sort of notes. That really does help.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw out one extra thing on that as well. And this is pretty unpopular, but I think we all know it's a fact. By really listening, you'll also figure out whether or not that's the right prospect for you. Not everybody is the right prospect for your business. Just because they can afford it and maybe they have a small piece of need that you address, is it really the right customer? And by listening, you'll be able to determine that. Sometimes you're better off going, look, I may not be the right resource for you, but I know someone who is. Can I give you a referral? And that way you walk away great. But if you sell your product to the wrong person, and of course it's not going to work for them or do what they need it to do, and then all of a sudden you've got somebody out there bad talking you, and who needs that?
Well, I mean, I think that is like awesome. Not only are you listening to solve a problem like Chella mentioned, but like you said, Chad, we as salespeople are all, and it doesn't even matter whether or not we're deemed a sales professional or whether you own your own business as an entrepreneur, we all play some sort of sales role. And our time is our most valuable asset, as is those that we engage with. So why are we not qualifying in or qualifying out as quickly as possible so that we can gain our time back and give time back to our prospects, the people we're engaging with, or we then realize that you're qualifying them in, and now you know how to allot your time versus engaging with someone else, right? It is all about prioritizing your time and being respectful of everyone else's.
Absolutely.
And we are talking about sales, but over the weekend I had the experience, and I actually used the active listening to a friend that I got to spend time. We've known each other, we'll say over 20 years, but I actually asked questions and it shifted how we communicated. Right. And I haven't seen him for a while. So it was just so great because I feel so good because I got to learn new things about him just by asking questions instead of assuming or bringing what I know about him. Right. So yes, absolutely. We're talking about business. We are on LinkedIn because we all want to get our business to the next level. However, if you use this active listening skills, it can also, especially for my moms and dads out there, it changes the conversations with you, that you have with those around you.
Mm-hmm. Not only does it change the conversations that you have, there are some questions that you want to ask repeatedly throughout the process of working with someone because their situation may change. So once you get an answer, and even though it's a good answer and you asked a great question, some things you have to check up on every now and then again, just to see if anything's changed, if their focus has changed, or if something has occurred in their world. And so you can never stop asking questions. It's never a set it and forget it. But if you're not doing it and you're not really listening, you're not paying attention, then you could miss something down the road as well.
Yeah, so we talked, I don't even know what time it is. Has anyone checked the
20
time?
after, 20 after.
Sorry, just want to make sure because we want to be respectful of everyone's time because, building credibility is not only about actively listening, but being respectful of one another's time, right? We've been talking and preaching that here in the last few moments. But so we do only have about 10 more minutes. But, when we're talking about actively listening, we talked about one way we could potentially show or even be present in the moment through active listening is by taking notes. What are some other ways that we could potentially ensure that we are actively listening? Anyone got any thoughts? Because I have a million of them. So
A million. I think we should all come
okay,
up
well, maybe not a million. That seems like a lot, right? But I have a lot of ideas. Of course, I always have ideas.
One of my favorite things is just to rephrase and just pretty much state back what someone said to me in my own words, not necessarily verbatim, and go and make sure I have it right. Do I understand things correctly? Is this how you meant it and what you said? And then if by rephrasing it and not using verbatim, I get to kind of read between the lines and maybe ask that next question that they gave me enough insight, but maybe not everything that we need to know and everything they need to share, right? So you can ask that next question reading between the lines after you've done that and clarify. But it also is respectful because just doing a simple thing like that, they know they're being heard. They know you're listening. They know you're paying attention and that you're grasping what they're saying, not just, looking to advance your deal.
That is fabulous. I know that I had a brilliant one, but I got thrown off with Denise's list. Listen, this is real talk, folks. We're not editing any of this. What was my bit? If you're having a conversation and you say, I often do this, I'll send that resource to you. I am really good about making myself a note so that I follow up and I deliver what I promised. Right? it could be like a podcast, or it could be it's something to a different event. It doesn't matter what it is. If I say, oh, you know what, I'll be happy to do that. Or if I say, I'll be happy to do this introduction, I make sure that I make myself a note and then follow up with that as quickly as possible. I usually give myself 24 hours though, just between us. But that to me is also listening, because they said the challenge or problem. I happen to have a resource. Follow through with it to me is important, and it goes to credibility, right? They are not just, it may not seem like, what does that have to do with listening? But they ask for something, and me delivering it is my credibility. I deliver it on what I said I was going to do.
Yeah. And Mike said, sometimes I go too deep, tear into what the person is really thinking. I don't think there's ever too deep. Actually, Mike, I would argue that, or maybe debate. Argue is a harsh word. I would debate that, because I do think that sometimes it's important to go deep. And if we're really listening, right, to our buyers, and if we take a moment and ask a deeper question that we realize, ooh, maybe that was too deep. If we're really listening, we'll hear that by the way our buyers respond, or our prospects respond. We'll be able to tell, and that'll give us an opportunity then to retreat if we need to, qualify that, apologize, or just actually move on, right? But it is all about listening so that you can determine that next step.
Yeah,
Mike, I'm sorry, Chad. I'm going to go with Mike. Same thread, Mike. I think we should have a little three-way debate here, because, and also this could be, Mike, we've been on a couple of audio rooms. This could be more of a male-female approach, right? Because sometimes when we ask those questions, it may come across differently if a woman is asking it versus a man is asking it, right? So I think that could be, we could have a little layer there. I'm going to take that on.
Yeah.
But just with Denise, let's do it. Debate. Mike, we're going to debate.
I'll give you the best debate piece that I can to that, Mike. And that's the fact that if you go too deep and it causes a problem, they weren't really prepared or in the right space to buy your product or service anyway. That's why it caused a problem. I think
wait a minute.
It's possible. It's possible.
No, it is possible, but that is where we talk about where we may be making assumptions too soon, because it may not be that, right? It may just be that we haven't earned the right to ask that deep question yet, right? So it may have nothing to do with them being ready to buy. It could just be that we went too deep too quickly, and we didn't get there logically, so we didn't earn the right to ask that question.
Yes, but so sometimes I was just providing just kind of like an array of possibilities. I mean, that can be one of them, and I've experienced that, and I'm sure probably everybody has at some point in time or another. It's not necessarily the most common, but it can be the case.
I love it. Mike, you're on. We're going to set up a time and we're going to debate this.
Yeah. Mike, we need to have a 4-way call with you.
Well, he does join us on our audio.
He does.
But as often as he actually makes it to our events, we ought to invite him at some point onto our stage with us for some conversation.
I think that would be wonderful. And I'm going to say one step further, because 4 is a good number. But what if we actually had 5 people, right? 5 different opinions. We could have one of those talk shows. We talk about a subject and never presents a solution, but we are 4 minutes away from closing out. Denise, I am ready to start taking notes with your list.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of time for that, but we covered quite a few, I think, which I don't want to not acknowledge Mike. So hold on, my mouse is not moving. So he said, I'm standing on the shoulders of a giant.
Giants.
How would you like to be one of those giants? Oh, so Mike, Chella, take a note. Mike, we need to have this conversation in our audio room next week. I want to hear more about this story.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, so this will have to be a conversation. So reminder for Chella, today we talked about actively listening and asking deep questions, and Mike's deep question, and Mike had a situation yesterday that took someone by surprise, and it was talking about giants.
Talk about motive behind that question right there. There's a lot of motive that person had to ask you that question.
Game on, he
Yeah,
said.
for sure. Yeah, game is on for sure.
Denise, but above that, I missed this the first time out. She said, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants.
I'm standing on the shoulders of giants.
So it's
And
someone.
his response was, how would you like to be one of those giants
Yeah.
instead of standing on top of them? Why can't someone else be standing on top of you, essentially? Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and so for those that don't know, Mike actually teaches others how to speak in public better and helps them as far as Mike shared a little bit, and I could get it wrong, but to summarize, he helps you be your best version of yourself as a speaker by helping you figure out your topic as well as presenting in a way. So Mike can qualify that next week in our audio room, but we are running out of time. So I want to share with everyone maybe where just a quick little snippet about us, where you can find us individually, and then where you can find us all together. So I'll kick us off really quickly by just saying you can find me on LinkedIn every day, all the time, just about. If I'm not doing a live, which by the way, I do like 5 live. I mean, actually, I think I do more than that now, but I'm on a live every single day. So you can find me there, or you can find me in the comments, DM me. Those are the best places in which you can engage. But enough about me. And by the way, I have a Salevators program. So I really coach salespeople how to just elevate their sales skills altogether from discovery all the way through to the end. So Chad, you're next, because you're in my view there.
No worries. And you can, same as Denise, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm available there pretty much all day as well. The only time I don't respond really quickly is if I'm doing a training course. I'm actually the creator of the Limitless Pipeline. So I share how to attract new customers, how to find your target audience, and how to engage them correctly in today's modern selling environment. And so that's the best way to reach me. DM me, follow me, and connect with me. Chella?
And right here, LinkedIn, find me here. I am here, I would say 5 days. I'm committed to be on LinkedIn 5 days a week. And I am focusing on guiding entrepreneurs to package their services and price them accordingly. That's my genius zone. And we've come together because together, I believe we have so much in common. And by having 3 of us under one roof, we can help. We don't have time, but we'll talk about how many people we've helped along the way in our audio rooms to get them clarity and help them on their way. So join us next Thursday, audio room, same time.
10 a.m. Central.
Bye, everybody.
We are the Profit Trio. So anyway, thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your day
Take care.
and week.